What's up, guys? We're live. We are live. Welcome to another episode of Crush Live Collins. I'm your host here, Bart Hanson. Today it's Monday, November 16th, 2021, and we are doing the show early because I am doing some TCH live commentary tonight, which of course starts at, it starts at 7 Eastern time. So 6 p.m. Central, 7 Eastern. 5-5 uncapped game. So, as I told you guys before, we are, we'll go early because obviously I can't do the show at 4:45 Central or 5:45 Eastern and then be able to get down there to do commentary. So that's what's going on here. I usually will do the commentary like I would say maybe once a month or something like that. It hasn't been a while. It's been actually a while since I've done it. But if you want to get on the show, as always, you can email me, bart@crushlivepoker.com, bart@crushlivepoker.com. I will always give priority to CLP subscribers, and you submit your hand. Usually on Saturday or Sunday, I will read all the hands over the weekend, and then I will respond back on Sunday. And then if you have a hand that's good, you can get on the show, and you can actually connect through your computer, or you can call in to the conference number as well, and that will get you on the show. But I'll be in the live chat here as well. I was just completing another trade bet, whatever you want to call it, on Poly Network, which is an Ethereum smart contract facilitation site, which is rather new, where I can continue to bet no on Trump, and it's actually better odds right now than what I'm giving the general public. Of course, if you've seen my Twitter thread, I'm still giving 10-1 on any market basically that's still open. And on Poly Network, get about 6 or 7-1. Of course, the difference is that I have to put up the money for Poly Network. It's got to sit there. I've got to lay the 7-1. Whereas, with the public, I can just basically grow my reputation because obviously I'm going to make good on the bets. It's all pasted. It's all public. So, it's actually not that much of a difference between when you play out long odds like that in terms of percentage. So anyways, let's get into it here. And we've got 4 or 5 callers here, I want to say, maybe tonight. So the first call, I believe, actually might not be a hand call. And this is going to be Jacob. By the way, in the live chat, again, I'm sort of putting my money where my mouth is. If you watch that political betting video that I put out last week, I will take any bet at 10-1. Trump National, Michigan, Wisconsin, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Arizona. Those are the markets. I think I might be missing one other one in there too. 10-1. Minimum 200. You send me 200 in Bitcoin. We can bet in dollars or Bitcoin. Let's say we bet in dollars. If you win, I send you back 2,200, which is your bet plus 10-1. Anyone. So I don't want to see all these blabbermouths in the live chat. Put your money where your mouth is. All right, Jacob, you're up first. Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Whoa. Hello. Yeah.
Really?
Very, very slightly.
Is this any better?
I don't know what's going on here, Jacob. Why don't you try to? Did you connect through your computer?
Yeah, I'm on my computer.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to give me a call back on the phone or what, but we can't hear you at all. Unless the chat,
Alright,
yeah.
I'll go back.
Um, so anyways,
I'll call back.
all right, yeah, give a call back here. Who we got up here? We got Brent here too. So let's go to Brent, and then if Jacob calls back, we'll go to him afterwards. What's up, Brent? How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. How's it going?
Good. We got a 1-3 match the stack hand here.
Oh, sweet. All right, let me just get this thing.
Well, yeah, a couple of months ago we got hooked on TCH Live, so we switched the game to match the stack at midnight.
So this was on TCH Live or what?
No, it wasn't. We got hooked on it, and we're like, well, that match the stack looks fun.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, Match Stack is great because in essence it's like uncapped, right? Now, actually, tonight's game they actually just call it uncapped, but Match Stack is incredible. I mean, or even like 75%, match is great too. Okay, cool. So 1-3 Match
All
Stack.
right, so we're it's toward the end of the night, so we're only 6-handed. We're about 1K effective, and hero covers.
Okay.
I open to 12 in the hijack with king of spades, queen of diamonds. And villain 3-bets to 40 from the cutoff. Folds back around. I think full ring, I probably just throw it away since there's nobody to squeeze, but I figure shorthanded we can flat and play it.
Well, what did you say? How many handed was it?
6-handed.
So you open hijack, which is what? The under the gun, right?
Under the
6-handed?
gun.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So you open under the gun, king, queen off the 12, cut off, who's the person basically to your, well, 2 to your left, 3-bets to 40.
To the immediate left, yeah.
Yeah, 2 to your left, 3-bets to 40. I think this is still just a fold, though. I mean, now,
Okay.
it's probably close. I don't think it's I mean, again, it's all about configurational stuff. Like, if you open button and you get 3-bet by the blinds, I think you definitely defend late versus late. This is
Okay.
somewhat late versus early. I think it's slightly negative, but it's not like I don't think it's insane, but I would say that, going by the theory of it, you probably should be folding. You open to 4x, I'm sure that's kind of somewhat standard to 12. in
Yeah,
a
it's
1-3
pretty
game.
standard. With
All right, so hero call. So the pot's going to be what, like 85 or something?
pot's 84, but we
Okay.
can call it 85.
Yeah, uh-huh.
The flop is king of clubs, queen of hearts, 7 of clubs.
King of clubs, queen of hearts, 7 of clubs. Okay, so you flop top 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I check in flow, and he throws me off by checking behind.
So check.
Yeah.
So
Turn is... Oops, sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say again, it's one of these scenarios where, I mean, it appears to me that he probably is supposed to be betting a large portion of his range here on this particular board. What I've been playing around with that Solver Plus app, or even Post Flop Plus, which I've been talking about on my podcast, in last week, where I'm going to be getting in a code for CLP subscribers to get a discount. I'm actually trying not to make, I just want to get the maximum discount because I think it's an effective tool. You could throw it into that app instead of looking at, Pio, just to see. I mean, again, it's not necessarily applicable, but it's kind of like, because the reason why I bring that up is because you just made the comment, like you were surprised that he checked behind, and I think that it probably should be bet. One of the boards that's really bet off the most is like high disconnected, low. But okay, so he checks behind, which probably to me on the surface seems like it is maybe a little bit on the strange side, right? Okay.
Yeah. So turns the 7 of hearts.
Turns a 7 of hearts, so now the board's paired on the bottom. So, you lose to like aces, but you beat ace king, right?
Yeah, that was literally my thought, was that the 7 probably plays better for me, though I don't really have many 7s there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, now I'm losing to aces, but I couldn't figure out why he would check the flop on aces.
Right.
Anyway, sorry, 7 of hearts comes out. I decide to lead for 55, and V calls, so the pot's about 195.
So hero bets 55. Call. So pot's like 195, right?
Yes.
King,
Yep.
queen, 7, backdoor hearts, front door clubs, backdoor hearts now out there. Okay.
And I have neither in my hand, which isn't ideal. And river rolls off an ace of clubs.
Okay, ace of clubs. So now the front door flush comes in. And of course, the problem here is that if the villain has any ace somehow, if he was checked back, though you wouldn't think that he probably would, but if he had ace jack or ace 10 or some sort of ace high hand, you do lose now, right? Because he's going to have a better 2 pair.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I check, and he overbets the river for 275.
Wow. Okay. So cutoff bets 275. So overbets the river for 275. I mean, it's just really hard to find a bluff here. It's also one of these ones here too where I don't know if this hand is ever taken for like a check jam as a bluff, because you're blocking all like the top full houses. I'm just thinking out loud here. I mean, I wouldn't probably do that with these stack sizes or something like this. One of the things people had said right away is sometimes aces will check behind on this board, which is kind of interesting.
Hmm.
But some people are saying, well, he could have jacks. I just don't know. I mean, it's kind of like, it's so strange to see like jacks or tens bet here as a bluff, even though maybe they should some of the time because they probably don't have showdown value. Like they want to bluff a king or a queen, but I don't see people take hands, with the right, hands that should be bluffed that are sort of non-intuitive enough in live poker to make this call. I just think it's kind of a trivial fold, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I wasn't thrilled about it. I did end up calling, and it's funny that you
Why
mentioned
did you
jacks
why did
because
you call, just out of curiosity? Is it because, well, I mean,
I
is it
I
because you think he has backdoor hearts or something that didn't?
I was gonna say I went back to the flop and I was like, what checks here and beats me at this river? Like Jack that three bet me pre-flop, Jack 10 of clubs. Like no, I would imagine he's betting off most of those hands. So it just felt like a spot where he sniffed weakness, and I mean he was kind of right. I didn't like the river and sort of went for it. He actually meant to bet 225 and misclicked.
So he meant to bet 225. So even though he bet 275, I just like, what
Yeah,
hand do you think you? I'm trying to figure out like what makes you call here. Like what hands do you think he has?
I that was I couldn't come up with value hands that made sense. I mean, I kind of checked back the river because when it came, all of a sudden ace queen made sense, and I was like, okay, maybe he's checking the flop out of a pot control idea,
Ace
and
queen
now
does
the
make
river
sense,
comes
by the
in.
way. Ace queen does make sense,
Yeah.
or some sort of random seven if you had like ace seven. I mean, I know it's kind of, very, very far out there, but he still has to have a bluff though for you to call. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, I'm trying to figure out like what do you expect to get shown down with here? Like
Yeah.
5, 6 of hearts or something?
No, I wish I'd have thought it through further than that. It just smelled wrong.
I mean, that's fine. I mean, I just maybe if I'm in your specific scenario though, I don't think it really smells. I mean, there's just certain extreme scenarios where there's just not enough bluffs here to make this call. So you call. What
Okay.
ended up happening?
He shows down pocket jacks.
He shows down pocket jacks. That is a
Yeah.
very, very, very rare play that you'll
Yeah.
see in live poker.
That's
Again, this
kind of
is
why I
why
sent it in,
I would overfold
even
in
though
this
it's
spot.
okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Because even like that's kind of why I sent it in. I was like, man, I don't even know if this call is right, even though I won the hand.
I mean, right, wrong. I just, if someone's going to be in a spot where they can't find the bluffs into, like, there's just not going to be enough bluffs here, then it's just going to be heavily weighted towards you overfolding, especially when he bets large, so you're even getting a worse price. But
Yeah.
I appreciate the call. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Let's see if we can, what is the live chat saying about this here? Literally the only bluff. Probably has ace king, ace queen. Yeah, I don't think I'd make that call. All right, let's see if this guy's connection's better. Jacob.
Hey, can you hear me better?
Oh, much better. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, switch headphones. Sorry about that.
Okay. So you're on your computer, and again, that's that's an option for better audio. A lot of people had said, well, sometimes people's audios are really, really good, and that's because you can just, I use a sort of a conference service in a web browser, so you can call with the phone number, but I can also give you a URL to connect to as well. So usually, obviously the computer's going to sound better too. So I think you have a non-hand call here, right?
Yeah, so a little before COVID, I was playing in Maryland live, and it's about 6 a.m. on a weekday, and a woman from the pits comes to play poker. It's obvious she's never played poker online live. I mean, she doesn't even know that she could touch her cards when it's her turn to act. And as I'm sitting to her left, I just, we're all looking at her waiting, like, you can touch your cards, you have to look at them. And she does whatever, and then it comes back around to her, and she loses the hand, and we're all salivating. Yes, finally some, real fishy action. But the interesting part is when she looks at me, and kind of wants me to help her with her hand. And obviously, I kind of try to ignore her for a second and say, I can't help you during the hand. But there's another hand a few minutes later where she's at showdown, and she doesn't know that she's supposed to turn her cards over. She's used to, in the pits, the dealer's handling the cards, and everyone's kind of waiting for her. And I tell her her options. If you want to have a chance to win the hand, you have to turn your cards over. You can fold your cards. And I know I would never do this for somebody who played poker at all, but this is a 1-3 game at 6 a.m. I didn't tell her what to do, what her best options are.
Right.
And also, by the way, nobody at this point has said don't help her, because I during a hand, I never told her what the best play was, just her options. So I don't know what to do. Is I want to foster an environment where people like this come to the poker room and feel welcome.
So it appears
But I
that
also don't want to violate basic rules of.
So
the game.
it appears that this lady has obviously just maybe never even played the game before, or just never have
Correct.
played it in somewhat of a serious setting.
She didn't even know she could handle her cards. The first hand she sat down, she literally was like waiting for, like you played in the pits, and how
Right.
there's some games
Right, you
where
can't
they
touch
don't
the
really
cards.
want.
Sure.
Exactly. She didn't even realize it wasn't like that. That's how the lack of knowledge that we were dealing with.
I mean, listen, if you're gonna there can be some really, really miserable people down at the low stakes, like guys, the grinder types that aren't really winning players. Is usually sort of the old man coffee type, right? But it can be some younger people too that are just absolutely miserable. I mean, why anyone would object to you obviously helping somebody who's never even played the game before, who doesn't know that she can't touch her cards, by just saying, I'm not talking about playing the hands, just saying, hey, like, the action's on you, you have to turn your hand over. I mean, I would do the same thing. Maybe you stop after a couple times, but if somebody were to, get angry at you because they were like her opponent, and you said to her, oh, you have to actually table your hand in order to be shown, and it's not like she's not mucking because she doesn't think she's the winner, she just doesn't know what to do. If somebody's complaining about that, that person is a miserable SOB. Is that what happened? Was somebody complaining to you that you said
No,
that she has to turn her hand over?
Nobody really complained, but the guy who it ended up being like a $400 pot at 1-3, and he was mad he lost the hand, because you're not supposed to lose hands to this type of person. But he didn't say anything to me, but he was visibly annoyed he lost the pot, so I kind of apologized. And this is what you said was along the lines of my thinking was, I want her to basically be comfortable. But I mean, there's a person who the woman who didn't know anything. There was a hand where she had 4-6, and there were 4 jacks out and a 6, and she thought she had 4 of a kind. But obviously, any person with a 7 or above wins the hand, and
Right.
she had gone all in previously, so she clearly, like, if you lose now, just stay in the game, and the money eventually be
Right.
lost.
And I think in that particular situation, what I would do, I have nothing, you always want to make the game very, very welcoming, especially to entirely new people. But where you cross the line, obviously, is you can't get involved in a situation where you're at that point where a hand needs to be revealed and maybe somebody doesn't know how to read the board. You just wouldn't say anything. Where I would say, like, in these situations, I can't really say anything. But, if she doesn't know where the action is, or she doesn't really know how to play the game, or doesn't know how to put the blind out, I think that that's all fine. But nothing about like advice for the hand, nothing about
No,
what hands beat. Just you could say one time, listen, like at the end, just turn your cards over. And this is what I would say. In this game, if you turn your cards over, your hand is live. So just always turn your cards over. You say that one time in between hands, and then that's going to be as explicit as, and that's what I would do. I would just say it one time. Just turn your fucking cards over. By the way, I tell people to do that in Omaha 8 too, that have never played. And people at the high stakes of Omaha 8, because I play at the highest stakes of Omaha 8 that can go, right? Like 150, 300, sometimes over the summer, but 75, 150. even we will turn our hands over when like boards get complex, usually doing like where it's 5 cards that are unpaired below an 8 on the board. I'm not going to sit there. If I can't figure it out, I'll just turn it over. Now the hand's live. Now other people can help me read the hand unless I've missed something. You know what I mean? It's not like even a thing. People just do it. It's not even, it's not even a thing. You just turn your hand over. Now, some people in the live chat are saying it's the dealer's job to do that. Tell it's the dealer's. Guys, I don't know what game. I mean, again, obviously things are different from club to club depending on where you are. Okay. But where I cut my teeth in Southern California, I am not depending on the dealer to do anything. They do nothing. They are like a machine that pitches cards. They don't control the game. They're supposed to, but they just don't. So you can't say it's the dealer's job. We've seen time after time after time failed dealers, failed rulings. They're just a card pitcher. If you take it from that attitude, so obviously some do better than others, some actually will, but you can't depend on the dealer to control the game. You can't depend on the dealer to do it. Just doesn't happen. At least, like I said, like in Southern California where I come from. So that's basically what I would do, So
yeah, nobody complained, and that's kind of why I felt okay just giving her options, for a few minutes as she played, and she eventually lost all her money, reloaded, lost all her money.
Sure, of course, right?
So but I wanted to make sure she had a good experience and come back and lose some more money. Obviously it was selfish in that way, but I would want someone to do the same thing for me if I didn't know. Just be friendly.
No, absolutely.
Enjoy the time there,
Yeah, no, I mean, and like you said, nobody really no one got mad at you though, right?
No one got mad. Just people, the one in the big pot where I did say, these are your options at the river you have to turn your card over to win. He was annoyed he lost the pot, but he wasn't mad at me at all. He was pretty chill about it. And that was the only time I was really worried, like, because I knew that she could win the hand, but I didn't want to tell her that.
No, I get it.
Again, that would mean looking at her cards, and I one hand per person, So
no, I know.
No, nobody complained, and it was pretty chill. I was just curious about your thoughts on this kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean,
situation.
I would just try to make it, like I said, I would try to make it as welcoming as possible, and I can't imagine somebody would get on you for doing that. You know what I mean? But thanks for the call. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We're gonna have a very, very small lull. It doesn't look like there was a guy that was scheduled for 4:20, and I don't know if he's calling in, so I just contacted the other 2 guys that are, basically scheduled for the end of the show. So one of these guys will be calling in, but let's take a look here at the live chat. By the way, too, I think that you guys know Taylor Carroll. He's going to be playing on the show tonight. So it's a 4-hour show, 5-5 uncapped. And I like it. Also, if you didn't hear the announcement too, we put a podcast up that David Tuckman did with Ryan Feldman. Ryan Feldman is apparently moving to another project. Of course, he was laid off from the bike, and he hasn't been a part of Live at the Bike now in quite some time, but they're sort of doing this Live at Hustler thing. And we put a podcast up about, he did a 2-hour podcast with David about it. So it was a little bit frustrating for me. The people that come away from Live at the Bike, like, I don't understand why they just won't talk straight, like, about what happened. Like, it just doesn't. David and I do. The ownership is trash, pure trash. There's one person, but Ryan, he's sort of just going around a different topic. He won't answer the question. It's a little frustrating for me, but whatever. So apparently, he will be, they're going to be doing this project at the Hustler. So, I told him, sure, I'd do the commentary sometimes, if we can do it remotely. Obviously I live in Austin, right? So, it really shouldn't be that hard to set up. The commentary shouldn't really be that hard to set up because I've done it remotely. I did it remotely in Ohio, like 5 years ago. I did it remotely in Jacksonville a few months ago. Our buddy Andrew here is going to be calling in here in a second, I believe. But So I mean, it's going to be a question of when can they do it, because I don't think that live poker is going to be coming back in Southern California all that time, all that soon. But excuse me, because it's like a private game, they might actually be able to do it, in their own private room, even when the casino isn't really necessarily open to the public. They're going to do a build out. So it'll be interesting to see. All right, Andrew, what's going on?
Hey, Bart, what's going on?
How you doing?
Can you hear me okay? I'm in the car.
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay.
So you got a hand for us?
Yeah. I got. This was interesting. This was over like a month or two ago, but I remember thinking it was weird. I got lost in the hand, so
Okay.
I thought it was a good hand to call him with.
Sure.
It's a limp pot. I know you like limp pots.
So this is 2-5 at Talking Stick with the 600 max bet. Is that right?
3-5.
3-5.
600 max bet. Yes.
3-5,
Yes.
600 max bet. And then what's the buy-in cap?
You can buy it for 2,000. So
Oh,
it's
okay.
pretty big.
So this is the big game there, right? Basically.
This is the biggest game they run there of Hold'em. Yeah.
Okay.
And occasionally they used to run 5-10, but like there's no point with the
Right,
cap.
with the max bet, right? Yeah.
If we get some straddles going, it plays, obviously bigger and bigger than that. So, yeah, this is a
What do
pretty
you
big
see?
game. Wow.
Because I know you play a lot of live poker because you have a position with sports, and obviously you're working from home a lot. So, do you see Talking Stick possibly closing down if they have more COVID harder restrictions coming up now? Because it looks kind of like
I think it's possible, but I think we would be seeing other stuff already closing down. It took them the extra 2 weeks to close down, back in March. So I think we're okay, but I don't know. Obviously, I've heard some closures of things up like in the Northwest already, and I've heard other things happening. So I'm cautiously optimistic that we won't close.
Yeah. Okay. It'd be interesting to see here with Texas too. When my wife was saying, things are going to shut down, and I'm like, seems like Texas is going to be the last place where things are going to shut down. But that doesn't. I don't know what that means though for the room. I mean, because TCH is obviously in Travis County. That's a pretty liberal county, so it's county by county. But there isn't going to be a statewide order. But anyways, okay. So
this is like the high season here. From November to like March. We got a lot of snowbirds here. We got a lot of people that come down here for. Obviously, our weather is great this time of year, so this is their high season. They're already getting crushed by the limited, only 23 tables that are distanced out. I don't see why it matters if you're back to back. You're going to have tables anyway. You might as well have them all open. But dealers aren't getting work. People aren't getting. The food service is shut down. A lot of folks are affected by it, so it's kind of bad. But
by the way, we're talking about Talking Stick in Phoenix, Scottsdale area.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So 3-5, 600 max bet, 2K cap. Okay.
Yeah, this hand starts because weird because I don't raise pre-flop. We got a real limp, happy, loose. No one's folding post-flop or pre-flop. So I've had a lot of hands I've raised, had to fold, check fold because I just I'm going to get just called by anything. So
just a lot of multi-way action, right? A lot of multi-way action.
And just a high V pipping, and but I still should probably raise his hand. There's two limps, limp like in the hijack and a limp in the cutoff. Two limpers. The first guy's, he knows where he's at, decent player, but he plays a lot of suited hands. He plays, he occasional limp raise, but he's not, he at some point puts the hammer down if he has a big hand. But he limps, and then the guy that limps in the cutoff, he's just calling like 80%. He's limping everything.
Okay.
I'm in the small blind with Queen Jack of Hearts, and this is probably a raise a lot, and I probably do 95% of the time. I just complete the $2.
So the button folds, and it goes limp. What is it, 7-handed or so? Or you could play 7-handed?
It's 7-handed, but maybe 6-handed.
So
I don't remember exactly.
So it's like a limp from +1, cut off limps. You have Queen Jack of Hearts in the small blind, and you just complete. Yeah, I mean, I would raise that all day, but as you said,
this is a definite raise hand.
Yeah.
I don't, and that's why this hand gets weird. And the big blind checks.
Yes, so I love limp pots, right? How do we play a limp pot? Because it's one of these things where a lot of people don't see a lot of limp pots, and they don't really know what. I mean, I've got a pretty robust sort of game plan for limp pots, which no solver is ever going to tell you, right? Because you're dealing with different ranges and different techniques. So, this is my bread and butter. I love it. Okay, so big blind check. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4.
It'd be a lot better if I raised, honestly. But so I flop big. I flop a queen, queen of spades, and then 6-4 of hearts.
All right, so Queen of Spades, 6 of hearts, 4 of hearts. So you've got top pair and you have a flush draw here. Now, what's interesting here is that I've talked about how a lot of people sometimes aren't very thoughtful in raised pots with top pair and a flush draw, whether they're the pre-flop raiser or they're in the field. And what I mean by that, I'll give you an example, because I remember we were going back and forth with this last night. Andrew's a good buddy of mine, so we were texting this hand. What I thought of right off the bat, because there was a little miscommunication, is like, say for example, a couple people limp in and you raise on the button with like queen 10 of hearts, right? And then the blind calls and 2 people call. And then the board comes out queen 6-4 with 2 hearts. Let's say you had queen 10 of hearts. That actually might be a spot where when you raise on the button, you actually might check that back. Now, if everyone's, and the reason why is because you've got a very, very sort of weak kicker with your top pair. You're blocking all the draws. You don't really need a lot of protection because you've got the hearts covered, right? So you're looking at like an offsuit ace or an offsuit king are really the only ones. So, but that's of course in a raise pot. Here, you're in the small blind. I still might take a check line here though, Andrew, similar to what I'm talking about there in this particular spot, because you have a queen, you have a decent kicker. I mean, I guess it fares to be good. You would think people would raise with king, queen, and ace, queen. You block the hearts, but then again, there are straight draws. You can't go wrong by just betting kind of small just for pure value, but I could see sometimes a check call approach here too. But then if you do check call, you're going to have to do some, I would say, non-standard things sometimes too. Because if I'm playing live and I check call here in a limp pot, say it goes bet call and I call, and the turn's like the king of hearts or something, I'm not checking the turn usually. I'm just probably just leading out to get the most amount of value. So anyway, so yeah. Queen of spades, 6 of hearts, 4 hearts. So what do you do here?
Yeah, I was thinking I want to build the pot, but I don't want to blow anybody off. I got the board covered, kind of what I was thinking. I only bet 10. I don't think I should probably bet 20, honestly.
So what's the size of the pot? So it's $20,
it's like
right?
$22, I want to say, with $20.
Yeah.
It's not very much.
Yeah, that's fine. I think that's fine.
I bet 10.
I mean, I think that's fine. So Hero bets 10. Okay.
Big blind folds.
Yep.
The under the gun, whatever.
Hijack or whatever.
Under the gun.
Okay, so hijack calls.
And the button makes it 45.
The cutoff, you mean? Because we don't have the button in the hand.
The cutoff.
Yeah.
The cutoff. Yeah. The guy that's last out.
Yeah. So cutoff raises.
This guy hadn't really shown a lot of aggression. He had just more of a calling station.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have a real big raising range pre-flop. He'd just been calling with a lot of hands pre-flop. So I thought he actually had a hand here.
So again, hijack limps. This guy over limps. The primary villain here in the hand is a cutoff. So hijack limps, cutoff limps. You complete with queen jack of hearts, and it comes out queen of spades, 6 of hearts, 4 of hearts. You bet 10. Big blind. Hijack calls. Who's the first limper? Now this guy raises to 45. This is kind of interesting here, right? Because it's like, what is he raising with? Maybe he could have like an up and down queen X suited or like bottom 2. He, I guess, could have a queen here. You might actually have the best hand here too, right?
You could have a king. You could have a king queen. You could have a queen jack. You could have a queen 10.
Right.
You can have top and bottom. These guys calling 80% pre-flop. So
I don't really see any need to really 3-bet though. Now, I mean, it's just like, the only time that you would ever, get into a situation where you might think about 3-betting here is if somehow you thought that a vast, majority of his range might be top pair types of hands that would raise fold. Usually that's another live exploit that I talk about is that, a lot of recreational players in live poker, they don't raise fold for value. You got to be a decent player to be able to do that. If I thought someone had a raise fold button, you could take this hand and maybe semi-bluff it. Right. Right. So, I think you have a clear-cut call, right?
But the fact that the hijack, had called, he might have a draw, that's what I was thinking, but he also might have a queen. I'm not quite sure what he has. I call, and then the other guy calls as well. So there's 3 of us all the way to the turn.
So hero calls in small blind, and hijack also calls. One of the things you got to start obviously taking into consideration sometimes too, Andrew, is the fact that you might be like over flush drawed here too by one of these guys. So
this is where I got lost in the hand.
Yeah. So now, 45, 135, and then so it's like 155-ish.
We're about 1,000 effective, by the way. About 1,000 effective.
Yeah, 1,000 effective. Okay. Yep.
Okay. Turns a jack of clubs. We make talk to.
Wow, that's interesting. So Now you have top two, right? You've got top
Yep,
two now.
top two and a flush draw.
And a flush draw. I don't. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of strange again whenever you sort of call and then lead turn. I mean, you're ahead of bottom two now. You're ahead of like queens up now, right? You're still behind the sets, and you don't want it to get checked through. And you know, when I was reading your text last night, I was like, oh, this is really weird, right? I think you're gonna lead. I was like, leading here, like, is you do lead, right? Just are you?
I do lead.
Okay,
yeah.
so yeah, we'll stop. So I was like, leading here would be when I looked at it on paper, I'm like, oh, leading's weird. But then when you look through it, though, it's like, well, you don't want it to get checked through. Like, it's like, look at the range of button raise here in a limp pot, right? We already talked about, like, you know, 6-4, queens up, some sets, right? And some draws. Also, too, a hand that's sort of raising-ish as a top pair, like you said, like a king, queen, queen 10. I think a lot of those hands might check through here. So in retrospect, even though it seems sort of peculiar, it's probably, I can get on board here with a lead, and it might even be better than a check now, even though it's a little bit strange on paper.
Yeah, it's going to be weird. I mean, obviously, I think I beat more of the buttons range now of possible two pair, and you know, there's more combos of that than there are sets.
Yeah.
And you know, honestly, if you got a set, I still got outs. I got a lot of outs. So I just felt weird checking here with such a big hand.
Right.
I felt weird check raising too. I felt weird putting a check raising if he bets again. So.
Well, I think that a lot. If you were to check, I think a lot would be said about sizing here too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but okay. So what happens? You lead.
It's awkward. I lead 105, which is a pretty big, you know, bet in this pot. It's like 105 and they're like 155 or so. I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
The first guy calls again, so I think he's got a draw. Pretty sure he's got a draw at this point.
So the first guy calls. Okay.
And then the cutoff, the second guy races to 300.
Jesus. So 105 call. Now the cutoff makes it 300.
Yeah, and I would say that this guy was not overly aggressive, but he also wasn't the most solid player. He was a clear recreational player, older guy.
Yeah, this seems like just such a set though, man. I mean, like you led the flop, and again, like people sometimes will be like very, very cautious in limp pots, and this is why I think it's a set a lot, right? You have led the flop, gotten raised, right? You've called, and then you get an overcall. Now you've sort of donk-led turn on what appears to be a blank. It's a high blank. You get another call, and he raises again. Like, I don't think he's going to be making that raise really with like queens up, or definitely not 6-4. Maybe if he's clueless.
Don't you find that people raise bigger with sets, both on the flop and on the turn?
I mean, he's making it 4.5x. It is a little bit peculiar, right? You're saying he's only makes it 300, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of a min raise.
Yeah, it was weird. It was almost like
that is a little strange.
Ready to get money piled in with a set here.
That is a little strange, but yeah. I think that this is interesting here because what does this other guy have to your left? And is there ever, it's kind of hard. It's a weird, I'm looking at this on paper. I'm sort of thinking to myself, is there value to get the other guy out of the hand? I mean, it can't really be a situation where you want to, someone might be able to do this out on paper. It's a really complex spot. You could email me. I'll give you a free month to Crush Live Poker if you can do this. This is what I'm thinking in my head. Usually it's never going to be right to just sort of quote unquote get the money in when you're behind for whatever reason. But could it be possible that your highest EV play in a multi-way pot here would actually be to jam because you need to get the higher draw out of the hand? If the hijack has a higher draw than you, and you can get him to fold. And even still, if you're only
weird,
like 25.
I will say that the hijack can have all the flush draws. You can have lower ones. You can have high ones too. Well, obviously, some of the higher ones he's going to raise pre-flop.
Sure. Here's the thing with this scenario is that when you are up against, when you have a second best hand, and you're also in a three-way pot up against somebody who has your draw covered, you have almost zero equity. Now, you don't quite have zero equity because you could peel a queen or a jack, and that's why it gets complex, because I wonder do you have to drive a higher draw out behind you, and then take it against like 4-4 or 6-6 here. It's just so hard to quantify, but I mean, obviously I think I would at least call, right?
Yeah, it's a weird hand in
continue.
the fact that, like, because I didn't raise, so the
Right.
ranges aren't very defined.
Right.
Yeah, I just call, and the first guy, the guy in the middle, he thinks for a while and calls.
So hero calls, small blind calls, and hijack calls. So you guys just put in 369. So the pot's like 1,055, right? Because you put in 900 on the turn. And
I've gotten raised twice.
right. And what do everyone has about 600 left in their stack?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
It might be a little more, but it might be like 1,200
Yeah.
to start, maybe like 800. But the max bet's 600 anyway, so.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. You know it's coming. The river's the 10 of hearts.
So this guy overcalled, right? He overcalled the turn, right? Because it was a min raise.
Yes. He
So
has chances to raise every opportunity.
So now the pot's 1,055, and the river's a 10. And this is why I think it's so complex. Wow, this is a fucking strange hand. You're right. I'm concerned that I'm beaten here. I honestly am concerned. Here's the thing, Andrew. If I know you make your flush, here's the thing. So obviously, if this guy who is in the, let's say that on the turn you lead 150, the hijack folds, right? And then the cutoff raises, right? Then you're like, all right, this guy's got a set. I've got top tuna flush draw. I'm just going to make my hand and bet, right? You call, you make it. Obviously, you bet. But I'm very, very concerned here with the hijack. Like, I feel like if you check the river here and the hijack jams, depending on if you think that the hijack would, would he jam like a small flush? I mean, I think when people play up and down.
I think he definitely bet it.
Well, then you could determine the sizing though. But, when people play a lot of like up and down ace-x of hearts, like just for limps, he's going to have a ton of high flush combos. So I wonder if this should be played as a check and see what happens here, because if he's going to bet a smaller flush anyways, you're still going to get the value anyways, right? And, betting here on the river is like, well, are you, you bet for value at the end so that a hand that will call you won't check behind. But this is pretty dicey here with this guy in the middle.
Yeah, and also I think I agree with you. If they bet and he calls, we might lose the guy behind if we call otherwise first. Let's say the guys get sticky with the bet and the guy bets and he calls behind, because they'll call maybe. It's something to think about.
Our buddy Peter O'Neill, who is stay in school, who used to edit the videos for us, he says the chance you're winning the pot 100% goes up when the heart hits. Well, yeah, I don't know if that's supposed to be a troll. I still don't think you have the best hand here, though. I really don't think you have the best hand here. Now I could be wrong. So what do you do here?
I led $300.
Oh well, now you can't even bet full. I mean, if you only have 300 left. Are you going to call it off? If you bet 300 and the guy moves all in, are you going to call off the last 300? I mean, the pot's going to be enormous, right?
No, I think I had like 800, I think. We started with about 12. So I had enough left to know that if he shoved.
Oh, okay. So you're saying that you have 12. All right, we'll put it up as 12. So he would be raising. Okay. I'll change that.
Yeah, that's what I said. I remember thinking I had enough behind to fold if I got jammed. I think I could safely think that he's not going to do that with a worse flush.
No, of course not. So you bet 300, okay.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the right decision, because I think he's going to bet his heart anyway. Behind me.
Well, if you check, you should definitely be betting any small flush, right? So, I mean, really the bet is, like I said, you're trying to bet here so that hands that will call you won't check behind, but I don't know, something smells fishy here. So, all right, so you bet 300.
So let me ask you this: when you bet and you're looking at the, you got a lot of experience. You're looking at the guy in the middle. What are you hoping to see? Other than him not call right or not raise. You're hoping to see him like tank, right? A little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you could obviously still. I mean, listen, you've got Queen Jack of Hearts here, right? So if he calls, you're really only losing unless he's playing like an unbelievably wide range, like as a limp. If he just calls, you're gonna have the best hand here, like over 90% of the time. The reason why is because the only times that you won't have the bet, this is assuming that he's going to raise with the nut flush. The only hands that he will just call and you lose to are the king high flush. But if you look at the board distribution, you've got the queen and the jack of hearts in your hand. The 10 of hearts is out there. So it's like king 9, king 8, king, you know what I'm saying? So if we assume that he raises with the nut flush, when you bet, this is all part of hand reading, right? It's all like sort of conditional logic.
Yeah.
When you bet, if he just calls you, you're going to have the best hand like a shit ton. So yes, I want to see it call.
Yeah.
You know, I want to see it call. Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. So he took a while. I was like, yes.
I mean, you're gonna get tank called by the king high flush too sometimes that aren't gonna jam because of the way that you played it. But so he tanked for a while, yeah.
Yeah. And he eventually called.
Okay.
There's not much more. And then the guy behind actually called as well.
Oh my God, the guy behind called too. Well, you've got the guy, but did the guy behind had money behind though, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's break this down. This is interesting. So
I obviously won the hand.
Whoa. So you bet hijack calls, button who has money behind also calls. So you have the button beat 100%, pretty much. Yeah. I can't imagine. You at the worst have the second best hand here. You are never going to be up against the nut and the second nut. So you're in number 2 spot. You know, I love that spot. It looks like you're going to win 90% of the time the way that the hand went down. So what happened?
Yeah. Well, I showed my hand. They don't have to show, but first guy mucked. He had a smaller flush, apparently. So he said afterwards. Mm-hmm. And the guy behind had queen 4.
Queen 4.
I almost said
queen 4. Okay.
Yeah. So he flopped top and bottom. You know, and it sounds more like almost like a brag, like somebody used hands.
No, it's not. No, it's a nice.
I got really lost in this hand, honestly. Really lost at almost every street, like how to proceed.
Yeah, because it's not a common, it's not a common scenario. It's a limped pot. You've got this weird sort of thing where this guy's raising the flop. You improve, so you donk lead turn, but he raises again. But as you rightly point out, the sizing is somewhat odd. Like he was sort of stop raising you on the turn, and he was, wow, that guy's fucking horrible. He overcalled with queen. So you bet the flop. You bet the flop he raised, you call. You bet the turn, guy in the middle calls. He raises, you call, the guy calls. The heart comes in the river, you lead. The guy in the middle calls, and he calls with queen 4. He overcalled with queen 4. That's terrible.
He's not a regular player. I should have a nut flush here almost all the time, honestly. The way it's played. I mean, I should really have the nut flush or like king 10 of hearts. But I probably would check raise down the turn if anything. You know, there's really no king 10 of hearts. Obviously, can't happen because of 10 of hearts at the end. I thought it was really weird. I mean, it's not one of these spots you're going to probably see. I probably won't ever see it again.
No, but I think, like I said, the more and more I think about it, the more and more I like your lead out on the turn now because of what we taught. I mean, again, it also has to do with this wide V pipping. Now, you can look at the suits of your hand for the different combos, too. You've got the queen of hearts. Queen of spades is out there. The 6 and the 4 of hearts are out there. So you can have queen of spades, 6 of spades. You can have queen of clubs, 6 of clubs. So you've got 4 combos of queens up that the button can have. Sometimes if the flush distributions are different, there's only one combo of a certain up and down, like 2 pair that are suited. But you can start to see that if the guy's playing queen X suited on the button, he can have a lot of 6-4s. And sure, there's like 6 combos of 6s and 4s, but if you start to throw in like him sort of like bullshit raising on the flop for protection with king queen, now the more I think about this hand, the more I love this turn lead for those reasons. And again, like this is where you have to have live experience to understand how the ranges react to certain scenarios. Because if you were just to plug this in somewhere to a computer, it'd be like, well, how you're leading the turn.
Against a good player, I mean, it's a super strong second raise from him on the turn. That was kind of, but it's not a good.
Yeah, but you can never fold though, right? I mean, exactly. I'm sure, like the guy, if I have a set of 6s or a set of 4s, I'm raising you twice, sure. Honestly, if I had queen 6 and I didn't know who you were, if I was somehow in the hand, like for like a half, like if I posted behind the button or something, and I had queen 6 somehow, I might raise you on the turn too. If I thought you were an idiot.
Interesting because my lead is so strong on the turn too. So it's kind of like weird that my lead call is so strong too. So my hand looks kind of like what I actually have.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, I think that if you look back at this, as long as the hijack's going to bet at least 300 on the river with a smaller flush, then probably check calling is the right play. It's a disaster, obviously, if the hijack checks through. But the reason why is because, again, I don't know. I mean, if you can bet full, like, there's some merit there too, but the hijack is going to have a flush there just a ton, and I'm somewhat afraid you're over.
Sounds like I was lucky that he overcalled, and I would probably get the overcall for sure if I check.
Yeah, maybe. But anyways, no, I appreciate the call. Thank you very much. I really do.
Awesome, Bart.
Thanks, Andrew.
Take care, man.
Guys, I have 2 cancellations here, which is unfortunate, and I can't go long here today because I gotta do the podcast. And so, how many calls did we? We only got 3 calls. Usually we do 4 or 5, and then I had 2. There were 2 people that were supposed to call, but I like that hand. Check me out, Crush TCH Live tonight. Sorry, TCH Live in 2 hours. And I think Taylor Carroll, who was in the live chat here, is going to be playing here on the show. Hopefully he has a CLP mask, Crush Live Poker mask. Taylor, are you still there? But anyways, I'll be back at the normal time next week, which is going to be 5:45 Eastern time. And that's when we usually do it on Monday. So if you want to get on the show, shoot me an email, bart@crushlivepoker.com. bart@crushlivepoker.com. I read them all. And check me out doing some commentary on TCH Live tonight in 2 hours. All right, guys. Have a good Monday. Bye-bye.